Hello, I'm Soo Wong, MPP for Scarborough-Agincourt. I'm pleased to be joined by the Minister of Labour, Kevin Flynn. In this segment, we will be talking about the Ontario labour and employment laws, but as well as the improvements and changes that the Minister will be sharing with us today about the whole issue of employment and the labour standards. I also want to thank Rogers for providing us with this opportunity to talk about an important issue that matters to my constituent in Scarborough-Agincourt. Minister, welcome.
Thank you, Sue. It's a pleasure to be on your show.
So I'm very pleased, Minister, for you to take the time today to talk about the whole issue, the rights and responsibility of employees in Ontario. So can you share with the audience in terms of the rights and responsibility under the current employment and labor laws?
Well, thank you for this opportunity. It really is great to be able to talk about something that has such practical importance to people's everyday lives. I think a lot of us go to work every day.
That's right.
Sometimes we spend more time at work than we do at home, or we spend more time with our colleagues at work than we do at home. And a lot of people don't understand the rights and the responsibilities they have as an employer or as an employee. So as a Minister of Labour, I'm responsible for two acts. One is the Employment Standards Act. The other is the Labour Relations Act. The Employment Standards Act really deals with the relationship between you as an employee and me as an employer, and the things that we have to do to respect each other in the workplace. Labor relations talks about those people that the rules around the right to unionize, the right to join a union, how that relationship should take place. So there's a number of very, very important laws that affect people on a daily basis at their jobs that are contained in those two acts.
Yeah. So in terms of some of the workers in my riding, especially the vulnerable workers, Minister, how would you share with your experience now in the Ministry of Labour in terms of the non-compliance? Because we do know there are many great employers in the province of Ontario, but when you do have the situation where the employees are afraid to report, what would you encourage them to do in terms of compliance?
Well, absolutely they should report, and the fear of reprisal is something that just shouldn't occur in Ontario today. It's something we just won't tolerate. We've got laws that protect you. When you go to work in the morning, you should expect to get treated with dignity. You should expect to work hard. We're Ontarians work hard. That's what we do. That's why we have the lifestyle that we have. That's why people want to move to Ontario. But you're also entitled to respect and dignity at work. You're entitled to protection under the law when it comes to things like health and safety. So if you're asked to do something that you think is unsafe, you've got the right to say, no, I think that's unsafe. I don't want to do it. Let's talk about this a little bit more. If you still think it's unsafe, you can give the Ministry of Labour a call and tell them, come on down here. I've just refused to do this job because I think it's unsafe. I want an inspector to come down and take a look at this. If you don't get paid on time, or if you don't get paid at all, or if you work hours and you think the boss isn't paying you for those hours, same thing, you contact the Ministry of Labour. We've got employment standards inspectors. And I think people that often come from different cultures or different places don't appreciate or don't understand yet the amount of time and the amount of effort and support we put into these two acts, because they're there to protect people. And often people are being abused or they're suffering abuse from employers, and they don't realize that they don't have to. They don't realize that a simple phone call would put an end to it all. You know, the vast majority of employers in the province of Ontario are decent companies. They obey the law. They respect their employees. They're smart enough to know if they look after their employees, they're going to have a profitable business.
Absolutely.
That's the people that make money for them.
So, Minister, in terms of filing a complaint for those situations, can the employees have to disclose the name?
No, you can do it completely anonymously. If there's something that's going on at your your workplace and you're a little timid about reporting it for the first time, or you think that there might be a reprisal, or your colleagues at work might be unhappy with you for reporting it, you can just call anonymously. I mean, if it's something, if you're trying to collect wages, obviously you can't, because we have to get the check to you and we have to talk about you when we go there. If there's an unsafe situation, if other people, you were seeing other people being abused at work, if people aren't getting their paychecks, if you're getting paid and you're getting paid overtime, but you know there's other employees at your company that aren't, you can report that to the Ministry of Labour, and we'll come down, and our employment standards inspectors will ask for records. They'll talk to the employer. They'll say,
Yes.
well, show us where the timesheet is for this person, how many hours they worked,
Mhm.
and show us how much you paid them.
Yes.
And why
yes.
is there a difference here?
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
we collect a lot of back pay for people. I
Okay.
think in the last year we recorded, I think we collected over $10 million in back
Wow.
pay for employees that were entitled to money that
Yes.
their employer wasn't giving them.
So your staff at the Ministry of Labour is championing for the rights of every worker in Ontario.
Yes, oh, yeah,
including
absolutely.
those young workers in our schools, like the co-op students, or those interns, what have you, Minister?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, for a while there, we were dealing with what was called unpaid internships.
That's right.
There's no such thing as an unpaid internship in
Yes.
Ontario. There's internships, and you get paid for internships, unless it's part of a co-op education program, that type of thing. But I think there are companies out there that we found were abusing the system. They were bringing young people in as interns, often with the potential promise of maybe a full-time job at the end of it. But somehow the job was never there at the end of it, and you were gone, and another intern was in your place and was working for free, and that was never the intent. If it's part of a school program and it's some sort of experiential learning, that's fine. That's allowed under the law.
Okay.
But if you work in Ontario, you get paid in Ontario.
Okay, that's good to know, especially our newcomers, because in my riding in Scarborough-Agincourt, there are a number of young workers, but also newcomers. They need to know what you just shared with them. The other piece, Minister, you've been proactive on the whole issue of workplace harassment
Right.
and the whole issue of gender equity issues. Can you share with the viewers a little bit more about what your ministry is working on?
Well, yeah, and, it's primarily would be aimed at women in the workforce primarily because we've known for a number of years now that we could do a better job of protecting women in the workplace. And women were coming forward. Some women were coming forward. Some women were talking amongst themselves about the intimidation they were getting in the workplace, sexual harassment. I think anywhere you've got a power structure where you've got somebody in charge and somebody is working for that person, when you have a power imbalance like that, sometimes people will use that power the wrong way and will harass, either sexually harass or harass just in a bullying way, other workers who find themselves in a vulnerable position. We passed legislation very recently that puts an end to that. We simply do not tolerate that. There's no level of that is allowed in the province of Ontario. And the same thing, all it takes is a phone call to the Ministry of Labour. We'll send down the right inspectors. Your employer has to do an investigation, has to take a look at what happened, has to give you the findings of that investigation, and you're entitled to, if you think that they haven't done a thorough investigation, you let us know. There's a third party that can come in as a neutral to ensure that that happens. But if you're in the workplace right now, anybody that is in the workplace now, and they're getting untoward advances from their boss or from their co-workers, or they're being subjected to maybe images, in the change room or the bathrooms or that type of thing, we don't tolerate that in Ontario. That may still be okay in other places of the world, but it's not in Ontario. And I'm so proud we passed legislation to put an end to that.
And I know my constituent also talk about your leadership in this particular file, Minister, because I heard numerous occasions where a young worker afraid to speak out, and they kind of feel uncomfortable those environment, and you championing them and encourage them to speak up is the right thing to do.
Oh, absolutely.
And the fact that you're giving them an opportunity to check in with your ministry, to make that call, and if they don't feel comfortable letting the names, but also anonymously, is very, very important.
Oh, absolutely, and it takes courage.
Absolutely.
The first time around, it takes it takes courage, but you know that if you're seeing somebody else being abused, or if you're being abused yourself, you're doing the right thing by reporting it.
Absolutely. And the fact that your ministry have a very diverse group of inspectors, I understand when they came to my riding recently that many of them speak multiple languages. Minister, can you elaborate a little bit more about that?
Well, certainly. We know that we attract people to Ontario from all over the world. People come here because, like I did and you did, it's that land of opportunity. We can prosper here in ways perhaps we couldn't. I came from England when I was 11, and this was a place that my parents could see a future. Now, I was fortunate. I spoke English, and English is a predominant language here. I spoke English with a very heavy accent, mind you, but it was English. There's a lot of people that come to Ontario where English isn't their first language. And sometimes they have a problem understanding some of the nuances
Yes.
or some of the details of the legislation.
right.
So we make our information available in, I think it's over 23 languages now.
Wow.
So we make sure that people can avail themselves of that information.
Good.
And when they're talking to us, we have, we can do things like translation, that type of thing, interpreters,
Yes.
those type of things. So language shouldn't be a barrier. Perhaps
okay.
it was in the past,
Yeah.
but if you can get hold of the Minister of Labour, we can probably get somebody to talk to you in the language of your choice.
So for the viewers who are watching at home, they need to know what you just said, Minister, that language cannot be a barrier for reporting.
That's right. Oh,
Am I
absolutely
correct?
not.
Right, okay. Because the other piece is that I know your ministry is doing some really, really good work improving and protecting the workers, because you just recently got that report.
Yes.
That big report coming. You want to give us a little snippet of that, Minister?
I can tell you where it came from, perhaps first.
Yes.
The Premier makes all the mandate letters now are made public, so everyone knows what all the ministers have to do. And what she asked me to do was something really, really interesting. Is she said, we haven't looked at the Employment Standards Act or the Labor Relations Act since the mid-90s. The world has changed so much. That's email was just coming to the surface then. Computers, were just making their way into the workforce. And it really is something that the workplaces have changed and the rules haven't.
Yes.
So now what we're doing is we're bringing those regulations up to date so they match the workplace of today.
Well, this is really, really exciting, and I know that Ontarians across the province is looking forward to the implementation piece of your ministry to further improve making all Ontarians to be safe at workplace, but more importantly, the next generation of workers. So Minister Flynn, I'm so pleased you find the time to be with us today and having this very important conversation about workers' rights, responsibility, and about their own personal safety. So thank you again.
Well, thanks for having me again, Sue. It was my pleasure.
Thank you.